check this out.
And here we go.
Thank you. The Deputy Director of ICE is telling us that 2 Jordanian nationals are in removal proceedings now after posing as Amazon delivery drivers to crash the gates at Quantico. Does the White House think this might have been a failed terrorist attack?
So going to be really mindful. These 2 Jordanians that you're speaking of remain in ICE custody, and given that it is an active law enforcement matter, so I would have to refer you to ICE. I just can't dive into this.
Really?
This is a law enforcement matter.
Something totally different.
Oh gosh. Where is this going?
Have you heard
Oh no.
that Vice President Harris is telling friends that she may go back to California and run for governor if the election does not go her way?
That is news to me. I would say this, the Vice President has been a great partner to this president. He is appreciative of the work that she has done. It is impressive what she's been able to do on these tours that she has done on reproductive rights, her leadership on gun violence, to fight gun violence across the country, prevention, obviously, and leading in the first historic office coming out of the White House. She has been an amazing partner, and the president appreciates her leadership, and that's all I'll say to that.
Don't change the subject, just answer the fucking question.
Why is President Biden celebrating today the Dow reaching 40,000 if his position, dating back to 2021, about the stock market is, that's not how I judge whether or not we have economic growth?
So while we have long said that the stock market is not the economy, and we have said that to your point, it's clear that what we'll say is that the President Biden's economic plan is working. It's growing the middle class, as you hear us talk about all the time. Spurs investment in manufacturing, created almost 800,000 jobs in this administration alone, and infrastructure, and outperform other countries. That's what the president has been very focused on. Record stock market highs under President Biden are good for retirement accounts and household wealth, and that is just a fact. And so, which we would never root for a stock market crash or for Americans to lose their jobs. It's something that we would never root for from here. But obviously, the stock market, again, is not the economy, but we believe that President Biden's economic plan is working.
There were rumors that there was a rumor, but that was just bullshit.
President Biden decided to block the release of the audio of his interview with the special counsel, and obviously the letter from the White House counsel laid out the reasons about the concerns of being used for political purposes, but that seems to imply that the White House is concerned that these could be politically damaging. So why not just release them, especially with this White House's commitment to transparency?
Well, for one, the transcripts, as you all know, is already out there. I think the second piece of this, too, to note is that the Attorney General made it clear that law enforcement files like these need to be protected. And so the president made his determination at the request of the Attorney General. So just want to make that second point that I made really clear. The Department of Justice and the White House counsel's office have provided extensive written letters, as you all know. I'm sure some of you have read this on this issue. And like I said, that you have seen. And so when it comes to anything further or any specifics, obviously I would refer you to my colleagues at the White House counsel's office. But those are just to make that second point again very clear. This was taken by determination. The president took the determination at the request of the Attorney General, and the Attorney General wanted to make sure that that law enforcement files like these must be protected.
But does the White House feel that the recording, the audio, could be politically harmful, since that point was also raised in the letter?
So I don't want to dive into the specific point that you're making about the politics. I would have to refer you to our counsel's office on that.
No, don't like that.
But there were determination that the president took very seriously on behalf of obviously at the request of the Attorney General, and that's how this decision was made.
On the shooting of the Slovakian Prime Minister, I know the president released a statement yesterday, but now that it looks more and more clear that it appears to have been a politically motivated attack, I was wondering if the White House had more to say on that front of those potential motivations.
So don't want to go beyond what I said here at the lectern yesterday. Obviously, we wish him a speedy recovery. Don't want to get beyond that, and I'm glad that he's doing okay. He's doing better.
You have failed
this city.
Mike Johnson said that President Biden is, quote, apparently afraid for citizens to hear his interview with special counsel Robert Hur. How is the White House responding to that?
I would say the transcripts are already out there. They've been out there. They have been released to the public. The public has an opportunity to hear directly from the president and what, or to read and what exactly the president said. The Attorney General made it clear that law enforcement files like these need to be protected, and that's the determination that was made. Anything further, anything specifics, I certainly would refer you to my colleagues, but that was a determination that was made. And again, anything more to that, I would refer you to my colleagues.
You talked about the transcripts being released, but as you know, hearing something and reading it is very different. And if the transcript is already out there, why is it different to have the audio there?
Like I said, there were determinations that that was made by the president at the request of the Attorney General, and so we took that very seriously. The president took that very seriously, and so that's what I would say.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Sure. Another topic was Xi Jinping meeting with Vladimir Putin at the summit in Beijing. They pledged to deepen their strategic partnership. What is the U.S. assessment of the current Russia-China relationship?
So I know that there was a statement, obviously that was a joint statement that was put out. Look, we don't see anything new here. I will reiterate what I said yesterday, which was we find it unacceptable that Chinese companies are helping Putin wage this war against Ukraine. We've been very clear about that. And if China purports to support peace in Europe, it cannot continue to fuel the biggest threat of the European security. And that's not just coming from us. It's coming from NATO, the EU, the G7 partners. They put out statement about this as well. So look, the statement is nothing new. It's more of the same. And we've been very clear where we stand on this.
Hypocrisy, my friend.
You said the statement is nothing new. It was pretty anti-American. I mean, whether it's new or not, is it concerning to the White House?
Look, we don't see anything new with this. We've seen this before. I get the point that you're making. We've seen this type of bilateral statement from those two countries. We have been very clear about this, and it's not just us. You've heard from the EU, you've heard from the G7 partners, you've heard from NATO, look, we have been all of the allies and partners that I just mentioned. We've been very clear on making sure that we do everything that we can to give the brave people of Ukraine who are fighting Putin's aggression the security assistance that they need. And that's why it was so important to get that national security supplemental. You heard us announce $1 billion on the day that it became law, that national security supplemental, to get that funding out. You heard from Secretary Blinken, who was just in Ukraine, and talked about giving more of that security assistance. So we've all been clear. This two bilateral relationship, obviously they stand out as two countries who are, as I said, put out this statement. But that is not the position, not just the position of the U.S. They heard it from G7, NATO, the EU. We've been very, very clear about that, and we're going to continue to stand by Ukraine as they fight for their freedom, they fight for their democracy.
We don't negotiate with terrorists.
Does this White House / does the United States have any leverage to dissuade China from supporting Russia as much as it is?
Look, I mean, we've been very clear publicly, we've been very clear privately, and we'll continue to do that.
But that doesn't answer my question. Like, saying you've been very clear, what kind of leverage do you have to change this?
Here's what I say, Jeff. When you have the EU, you have the G7, you have NATO, all saying what we are saying right now, which is we're going to protect or continue to help Ukraine defend itself, that says a lot. We're talking about partners and allies here who mount a pretty strong force here in saying that we're going to continue to support Ukraine. I mean, I think that says what you need to know.
Oh, Sleepy Joe.
What you can do about China?
I mean, look, I'm not going to talk about bilateral relationship. I said this yesterday. What I can speak is to what we've reiterated over and over again, is that it is unacceptable for Chinese companies and how they're helping Putin wage this war against Ukraine. We've been pretty clear about that. But the fact that this is the president that has been able to bring NATO together, right? Been able to make NATO the more stronger than it's ever been. That's important. The fact that he's been able to bring more than 50 countries together in order to make sure that Ukraine has what it needs to fight against Putin's war, that says a lot. That says a lot about this president's leadership, and that says a lot about where other countries are. I mean, our partners and allies came together in support of Ukraine, and we're going to continue to do so.